It has been 16 years since Congress began debating the Affordable Care Act. And in his second year of presidency, President Obama signed the law in 2010. So Republicans have promised over and over again in repeal and replace, in attempts to stop it, in shutting down the government so that the Affordable Care Act wouldn't start, that they would have a plan. They would have a bill. As recently as the most recent debates, President Trump said he's got a plan for a plan. There is no plan. There is no Republican plan. There never has been one. There isn't one. Republicans do not believe that health care is a right. Democrats do. It's an organizing principle. And once again, the Republicans are sort of throwing some old half-baked ideas in a last-minute effort to try and pretend they care about this issue.
Secretary Sebelius, I mean, to your point, I'm just wondering, are these folks even serious?
No, they are not serious people. I love her. That is former Obama Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius, pulling zero punches and spitting straight facts. And I am Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. Well, she's 100% correct. There are several fundamental differences between the two major parties we have here in America. And one of those major differences is healthcare. Democrats believe everyone should have access to healthcare, and Republicans do not. And they have made that clear over and over and over again. And now Speaker Mike Johnson, who lies as he breathes, cut his conference work week short and sent them home for the holidays before allowing Democrats and 4 Republicans who joined them to vote on a discharge petition that would have allowed an up or down vote on extending the ACA subsidies for another 3 years.
All year, the American people have been dealing with this Republican healthcare crisis that is devastating everyday Americans. And we're here to call it out. We're here to provide a moment of clarity. Republicans have enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health centers are closing all across the country, including in rural America, because of toxic Republican policies in their one big ugly bill. Republicans have launched an all-out assault on the Centers for Disease Control, the National Institute of Health, the Food and Drug Administration, on vaccine availability for children, and on public health. And because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, tens of millions of Americans are at risk of being unable to go see a doctor when they need one.
Here's one of those 4 Republicans who crossed over and signed that petition, New York's Republican Mike Lawler.
Democratic and Republican colleagues to actually come up with a bipartisan compromise bill that would extend the ACA enhanced premium tax credits for 2 years with reforms. There needs to be reforms. Somebody making $600,000, for instance, should not be subsidized. So we are trying to put together a bill. We have introduced it in the House. We have introduced a discharge petition to move those bills forward. We were working to negotiate in good faith with House Republican leadership to get a up or down vote. And unfortunately, we could not come to an agreement. We went to the Rules Committee last night. We offered amendments. They rejected them.
In fact, Speaker Mike Johnson lied again, shocker, and said that the amendment rules weren't being followed to allow votes on any of these additional bills that members of his conference as well as Democrats were bringing forward. But one of his own Republican members called him out on this. Mike Johnson was telling a reporter that he, quote, worked really hard with his members to try and craft an amendment that would work, but in the end, it didn't work out, and it was really their choice. He put all the blame on his own conference even. But here comes Representative Kevin Kiley, also a Republican of California, with the clapback. He said, this is false. I prepared precisely the amendment the speaker is describing, and he said it would be ruled out of order. The bottom line is that Speaker Johnson was doing everything he possibly could to slap anything down involving the ACA. He absolutely was going to make sure that there was no potential way that anything that would extend those subsidies was going to move forward. And here was his response.
The false narrative. The Democrats are pretending as though this affects everybody in the country. It affects 7% of Americans, this extended subsidy. And of those, even if it was extended without any reforms at all, it would only reduce that small group of Americans' premiums by 5.7%. The Democrats have tried to pretend as though this is all about
Americans. No, I understand that this is not for everybody, but it's 22 to 24 million Americans, and there are some Republicans whose districts are going to face some real trouble and some real issues with this.
Yeah, it's only 24 million Americans. That's all. It's only several thousand people that are going to die. But how many billionaires are there, Mr. Johnson? How many that you rushed your conference back earlier this year to shove through the big ugly ass bill? Remember how he, when he wasn't on vacation with his conference, he was rushing them back into session so they could shove Trump's big, beautiful bill through to make sure that 0.01% of Americans, the wealthiest of Americans, were going to get monster tax cuts. But to give back the money that he and his members stole through that bill when they transferred $1 trillion away from Medicaid, $500 million away from Medicare, from the 24 million people, is just a bridge too fucking far for Republicans. Yep. But we need to stop acting surprised, because this is who and what they are.
Republicans do not care about healthcare costs, affordability, and access to healthcare. And don't believe me on that. I've got 30 years of proof, of data that shows every chance they're in power, every time they have an opportunity to do something, not only are they not in favor of doing anything to fix it, they're trying to tear it down. When Donald Trump had power last time, they tried to tear down the Affordable Care Act. They've been promising to try to tear down the Affordable Care Act again. They did everything they could to gut that Affordable Care Act effort back in 2010 and 2011. And every single chance that they have a power, unprecedented, bicameral, across the board power, they'll do nothing to lift a finger to help the American people on this.
I actually thought this next clip on Fox with Georgia Republican member Buddy Carter was kind of hilarious, because he's just blatantly transparent about what they're doing.
Number one financial concern of Americans. The Affordable Care Act has never been more popular than it is today. And so how is it more popular? How has it never been more popular when it's so expensive? When you look at polling, it is fascinating. More than 60% of Americans say that it's a positive thing, and they don't know what the Republican alternative is. And so they're very concerned. When you ask who is going to be better for the economy or better for health care, Democrats win in polling, and Republicans are losing on this messaging. So my question really is, Congressman, how do you talk to Americans right now who are saying the Republicans don't have a plan, the Democrats' plan is better, and they're the ones that are going to get it under control? How do you explain what your plan is that's better than what's in place today?
You explain it by explaining that it's not working.
It is the Republican way. Don't believe your lying eyes. The sky isn't blue, the grass isn't green, and the ACA doesn't work. In reality, since 2010, more than 38 million Americans have used the ACA marketplace to get healthcare. Medicaid expansion and ACA subsidies helped millions of Americans who couldn't afford coverage before. It works. The ACA also made it illegal for insurance companies to deny coverage for pre-existing conditions like cancer or chronic illness, and required insurers to cover preventative screenings such as mammograms, prostate exams, colonoscopies. The ACA has saved countless lives, including mine. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. We need universal health care and an end to for-profit insurance companies. We need to abolish for-profit insurance companies, have single-payer insurance. But until we can sort our proverbial shit out and get centrist Democrats out of the party and move forward what really is not a progressive agenda. I mean, this is mainstream care for the rest of the world, universal single payer healthcare. Until we can do that, this is what we have. And without it, people will die. They will die. But Republicans would rather allow Trump to send $40 billion to Argentina, a fascist nation run by a crazy man, than use that money to cover Americans' lives for the next 2 years. Because it would take $38 billion to extend ACA subsidies for the next 2 years. But they're like, nope, let's just send it all down to Argentina. Why are we funding Israel to $8 billion a year? A government that is currently funding genocide, and they already have universal health care. Why do both parties sign off on a $1 trillion defense budget when we already spend 4 times as much on our military than the next largest military force in the world? It's insane. It's just waste of the highest order. But we're not going to cover Americans and make sure that people have medical coverage to help them live. I mean, it's crazy. And more Americans need to start getting pissed off.
Our insurance premium is set to triple or more than triple in the new year, and it's not affordable. Who has an extra $1,500 to just spend? And again, that's just the premium. It's also a $15,000 deductible. So it doesn't even kick in until we reach $15,000.
That's more than a mortgage payment. How are you supposed to afford health care? Fortunately, we are healthy. We do take good care of ourselves. But anything could happen at any time. And you just have to figure out how to deal with that. Unfortunately for us, we're choosing to not have health care.
See, this is nuts. A family going without health coverage. Like, I mean, there were times in my life when I didn't have medical coverage, but I cannot imagine going without it now. And I have to imagine that moving forward into 2026. I mean, as somebody who is a cancer survivor, I fractured my right arm this past year. I've never broken a major bone in my body in my life, but I did a number on that. So like, everybody needs it. You may be healthy all the way to the moment that you're watching this video, but you don't know if today is the day you walk out the door and you get in a severe car accident, you trip and fall, or if the next time you see the doctor, they unfortunately discover that you may have cancer or some other illness. So none of us should be accepting this. I believe Democrats need to hit healthcare as hard as possible before the midterms. And we have to start educating Republican voters, like 40% of those who live in MAGA Mike Johnson's own district, that oftentimes the healthcare they rely on is Obamacare. That Obamacare is not a bad thing. It's the same thing as the ACA. It may have a different name in their states. Like, I don't know all the names, but often states will name their Medicaid plans or whatever different names. And we have to start educating them to stop voting against their own life-saving medical coverage. I mean, take a look at this slide real fast. 70,000 West Virginians are set to lose healthcare coverage when these ACA subsidies expire. West Virginia is a ruby red state, super rural voters. And these people are going to lose their health care. And, the majority of them continue to vote with Republicans who have no interest in helping them have health coverage. Lastly, as Republicans passed some nonsense bill last night that doesn't include any ACA extensions, doesn't do anything to really help us in terms of affordable healthcare coverage, all these Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's now like, oh yeah, we need health care. And, Kevin Kiley and Mike Lawler, for example.
Where does that leave you?
I am pissed for the American people. This is absolute bullshit. And it's absurd that we are in a body with 435 members. Everybody has a responsibility to serve their district, to serve their constituents.
If they're so damn incensed now, so upset for their constituents, then why, pray tell, did they vote for Trump's big so-called beautiful bill that passed the biggest cuts to Medicaid and Medicare in American history? Huh? I mean, you knew what you were doing, didn't you, Mike Lawler, when you signed off on that bill that was giving, mega tax breaks to billionaires and corporations, but it was literally stealing away healthcare coverage from millions of Americans. And now all of a sudden you're incensed and yelling out, bullshit, this is wrong. I mean, I don't buy it. The only two Republicans, by the way, who voted against the big BBB were good old Thomas Massie and Brian Fitzpatrick. I really feel like a lot of this is a cosplay dance that a lot of these guys are doing. It's performative because they see the midterms coming and they see that they're going to get their asses kicked. So they're like suddenly now doing this jig, like, I'm going to try and save healthcare. They should have thought about that before when they were signing off and voting with Trump 97 to 100% of the time. I mean, they are the MAGA coalition, with the exception, like I said, of maybe Thomas Massie. So while many of us can't afford groceries or rent, and now healthcare, Donald Trump is excited to announce that his hideously gaudy, awful, oversized ballroom budget has now ballooned to $400 million and counting. Yeah. Oh, and he's put up a bunch of absurd, ridiculous, stupid puerile plaques on his presidential Walk of Fame. I mean, this is what our president is spending his time doing. But the rest of us can just go eat cake and die. Anyway, Merry Christmas from the Scrooge Party. And for all of you who are lighting your menorahs, I really hope that oil lasts you and covers your healthcare next year too, because it appears that's about as good as we're going to get. So with that,
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content ad-free